Hello everyone, so I'm Kumar back with another Wednesday talk. This time it will be on the IBM DB2. So this will be a quick refresher on the mainframe DB2. So many of them have requested for the DB2 quick refresher. I mean, so far I have created the refresher on DSO ISPF, Cobol, JCL and VZAM. So this is gonna be a DB2 quick refresher. Here I would try to cover as many topics as possible, okay, without wasting any time. So let me move ahead and get started. So first thing is introduction. So why DB2? So DB2 is nothing but it's a relational database management system. We call it as a RDBMS, unlike we have Oracle SQL Server the same way. So DB2 is also a relational database management system. Where is DB2 stored? It is stored as a separate subsystem on the mainframe, and it's on the mainframe system, as I told. So when we work in the real time, right, so on the DB2, so we see a different environments, that is development, testing or QA, or some people call it as model environment, and the production environment. So these DB2 subsystems are there on these three specific environments, or maybe 4 or 5, depends on the project that you're working on. So this will be there. Okay, so they will have a separate databases created in this specific environment, and they try to create their tables and perform their queries, and then after testing in the development they move to testing and then move to production environment. So that's how the hierarchy it will be. Okay, it is also noted that every DB2 system is recognized by a user defined name, right? Obviously, right? So when we have the DB2 subsystem, so it should have some user defined name. So what is the range? I mean, it has 1 to 8 alphanumeric characters to give a better name. So naming conventions in the that is standard that they use is for development they may use DSD1 or DSD2, and for testing it they may use DST1, and for the production it can be like DSP1, right? So this could be the DB2 subsystem names that they can follow. As I told, it can range from 1 to 8, and it depends upon the org to org. Okay, so moving on to the next thing. So every DB2 subsystem consists of DB2 object groups, then it goes to DB groups, then storage groups, then table space, index space, tables, index, columns, and row. So this will be the hierarchy. At a quick glance, so if you look at the table here, the graph that shows here, so it starts with the database group. So when we are installing the DB2, so first it will have a database group. So to the database group, so you can see storage groups, and within the storage group, so let's say like you have a development, you have a QA, and you have a prod. So that way also we can divide, or maybe we can create a separate database groups as well, and within that you can have a storage group. Then comes the table space, and within the table space, so it starts with the database group, storage groups, table space. Within the table space you have a tables, and within the tables you have a roles. So this is the place where we try to create our tables, and we try to pull the information from the tables. Whenever we are trying to create the table, so we give the database storage and then table space. So inside the table space our tables are created. Okay, so here TS stands for table space, index space, and index. Okay, so the first thing we need to learn in the DB2 before we get started is we need to know SQL. I'm hoping that you're already aware of this SQL concept. So within the SQL, when we talk about SQL, so we have to be familiar with we have been learning from many days, I can say many years. So these are the common concept that's there from 1970s, 80s, right? So still that it will be the fundamentals will be the same on the SQL. So we start with DDL, then data definition language, DML, and DCL, right? So DDL is something, DDL and DCL, mostly this is connected to a DBA, so it's a DBA role, and DML it's purely a developer role. Okay, or it can be an QA, so where they try to test it. So DDL, so what DDL will do, it will create a tables, we can alter a table or we can drop a table, and the same thing, it creates a database, table space, and all those things will be performed by a data definition language that we call it as a DDL. And DCL, giving an access revoke to the tables that are being created, or it can be a table access, it can be an insert access, delete access, update access, or select. At the same time they can revoke. So for example, you have joined an organization where you wanted to have an access, or delete an access, so that's completely remove an access, that is completely control over the the DBA. So these two are role of a DBA, and this is purely a developer or a QA. Okay, insert, update, delete, and select. So these are the things, different things we do in a SQL. Okay, the complete DB2 depends on this. Okay, all the SQL commands are executed by using application program, either a batch or online, or we can use tools like QMF and SPUFI and file it. Okay, so why we need to go with an application program? So there is a question that the question arises in your mind is, how do I get started, right? So we are saying DB2, so first we need to run we need to learn this DDL, DML and DCL, right? So you need to create a table, and then you will be flying with the select, insert, update and delete commands. So then once you feel comfortable there, then you write the application programs, right? So that's the basic foundation step. So in order to create those specific tables, you use QMF and SPUFI. And application programs, when we go to the application programs, when we are ready and we are ready to work in the project, so when there is a large volume of a data to be processed, then application program comes into the picture. Tools are used to value the low volume of a data for testing. Before we write any actual code, so we test those queries are working fine or not using the tools. So that is QMF or SPUFI. Right, so tools like QMF is a query management facility, and SPUFI, and then file it. Okay, then file it, I can ignore that. So most commonly QMF and SPUFI, yeah, not ignore, so that's there. Okay, then SQL commands are executed. So SQL commands, like within the application programs, we have batch and online, and SQL commands can be used in an application program, that is either for the batch process or an online process. And the tools like QMF, SPUFI and file it. And then as an application programmer, we use tables, columns, rows and indexes, right? Table is what? Table is nothing but a combination of rows and columns. Columns are called as attributes and rows are called as tuples, and every table is identified by how? By a unique table name. So whatever the table name that we create use to create, that will be there. So the condition is it should range between 1 to 30 alphanumeric characters, and every column is also identified by unique name, and this is also ranges between 1 to 30 alphanumeric character. So okay, so every column when we are defined, it should have a length defined, right? So DB2 data types like integer, small integer, decimal, character, varchar, date, time, timestamp, and graph, and var graph. So these are the basic, I can say, the data types that we use when you are working in a DB2. How do we connect to the SPUFI or QMF, right? So you need to have a mainframe login ID created. So within that, so you have the DB2 installed, and using specific options that are there. It varies system to system, so based on that you can go to either. When you are connected to the SPUFI, it looks like this, and when you are connected to the QMF, it looks like this. Okay, SPUFI. So when we move on, so this shows similarly like this. Okay, right. Okay, just to show you quickly on the mainframe, how do we connect to the QMF? Here, I mean, since I'm using this particular mainframe system, so here it is QMF is found on these options, and DB2 is found in this option. So I can just select 17 here, and that's it. So now I'm connected to the QMF. So what we do is here we try to write the queries. For example, I'm trying to write a query here, right? So then if I press F2, so it will give you the query results, right? So this is how we connect to the QMF. What about SPUFI, right? SPUFI, the option is 15 here, and I can connect here, and then I can first the criteria is you need to create a partition data set, so where you will be writing, you will be creating all the queries, and then you will be writing a sequential data set where all the results will be there. Okay, so that's how we create that's how this is how we connect to QMF and SPUFI. Say you have the members and everything created, so let me run this. So normally we go here and we write the queries here, and how do we execute? So I mean, these two is nothing but this is a comment section, so there that you can ignore. So normally we write this query like select star from emp1, just give 3 semicolons and press F3. so that it will give you the results, so that way we can run. So here you can look at here, so I have ran the query, so it has given me that particular table results. So that's how we connect to a SPUFI. So I repeat again, so how do we connect to SPUFI? So you will be going from the primary option and you have to select this, and you have to create the PDS member and then sequential dataset. This is where the results will be created, right? And similarly here QMF also, QMF you cannot store the queries, whereas in SPUFI you can store all the queries, and you can also store the results as well. So that's the difference. Coming back to this, so these are the screenshots that I have mentioned showing the difference between the SPUFI and QMF. How do we practice? And let's talk in detail about the QMF and SPUFI difference. So it will be used to execute only one query at a time. So whereas in SPUFI you can execute multiple queries. Query is typed in QMF tool itself, whereas here we create PDS member and a sequential data sets, right? It can process low volume of data, it can process large volume of data, since we create a member and we have a sequential data set where we store the results. SQL error code cannot be displayed here when you're practicing it. Here we can see the SQL error code, so that's where. So most of the programmers, so when they try to debug if there is any issue, so they use a SPUFI and then try to resolve it, or there may be any other third-party tools as well, so that can also be used. So but these are the commonly used. So when a query run results are displayed in a QMF, I mean in a tool itself, but it cannot be said. So run results is displayed in a physical sequential file. Number of rows to be displayed can't be restricted. Here can be restricted. Okay. So that's about the tools. That's the first step. Now we'll have a quick refresh on the SQL queries. Okay. If you want to insert any data, so what is a query that we use? Insert into customer name and like location. So based on that we insert the values. This is about the insert query. If you want to delete a table, so delete, I mean the record from the table, so you will be using a command called as delete from. And if you want to delete a specific record from the table, so you use this query, delete from customer where customer number equals 20. And it's similarly if you want to update, if you want to add any update operation, so you can use update customer set customer name where customer number is equal to based on some condition. And if you want to retrieve information from the table, you use a select query. Select star from will give you the complete fields, and if you want to select specific fields, you can give the specific fields information. And if you want to apply any where class or conditions, you can apply that conditions. And you can use and or operations as well, and you can also use between and these things, and you can also use this like. So that's how and we also have many DB2 inbuilt functions, so that can also be used to, if you want to select the maximum salary, minimum salary, average salary, sum of the salaries. So that how we use this, and we call this as a column function. And we have another functions like distinct. Distinct will give you the distinct record from the table, and to get the total number of records from the table, so you use count star from the customer. So these are, so what are the queries I'm doing? This is must used. I mean this is a, I mean as a programmer you will be definitely using if you're working on a DB2 Cobol, or it can be DB2 PL bar 1 or anything. So right, you may be using a Rex as well, so you will be trying this all these queries. So I have just mentioning here. So that was a quick refresher on the SQL queries. Okay, now let's begin with the application programming. So what we'll do is we'll try to create a simple table. In a table we have employee number and an employee name. Employee number is of integer type and employee name is of varchar. What is varchar? Varchar can hold characters and numbers as well. Okay, that's cool. So how to create a table using a Cobol batch program? So we'll see how to create a table using a Cobol batch program, that we'll see anyways. So every SQL command should start with exec SQL and end with end exec. So now we are entering into the application program, right? So every SQL command should start with exec SQL and end with end exec. Okay, how do we create? So let's write a query for that, and whatever the code that you are seeing here, this will be mentioned in the Cobol program. Okay, I'm talking about the Cobol application program using DB2. So here we write this create table employee, employee number, employee name, and this, and you will be ending with the end exec. So this exec statements will be having, maybe have a pre-compilation process where these are converted to a Cobol statements again later on, and then it will be compiled back, where we'll be hearing DBRM and all those concepts. Okay, so that's how this is the code that we write in the Cobol, right? And similarly for a alter, you can write this query. And let's see how do you write the statement for the drop. So this is how we write, and why not we apply on the DML commands. Okay, let's see how do you insert, update and delete and select, right? So let's look at the insert. It is used to insert a rows into the table. One insert command can insert only one row at a time, right? For multiple, we'll be using a perform in the Cobol. I'm not going to explain anything on this, so if you have missed my Cobol refresher, please go back to the playlist of refreshers, mainframe refreshers. You will be finding my Cobol refreshers. So I have mentioned all the concepts there. Okay, so most important, number of columns and number of values should be same with the data types. Okay, so this is very important whenever you're using an insert. Syntax, so exec SQL, so insert into table, so you have to select the fields and then values, then and index and exec. So this is how we write the statement for the insert. And similarly, let's look at the example. Insert a record exec SQL, so insert into AMP number, and here we are trying to hardcode the specific values, but ideally we will have some host variables defined there, and then from the host variables, so we pass on to the specific values. Okay, what about update? It is used to update the column values. So it uses a set keyword parameter. Not sorry, I'm going to the JCL. It uses a set keywords to update the columns, and where clause is used to filter the rows. Syntax, exec SQL, update, set fields, and you'll be having the where conditions. The important point to be noted whenever using an update query is set. Why we are using update? To update some specific record. Update some specific record based on some conditions. So there is some conditions. I mean, you have the data, you have the millions of records. There has been some requirements to update the customer information. Maybe they have changed their phone numbers, maybe they have changed their address, maybe there is an issue with some bank account transactions. So in that scenarios we use this update. Okay, so and let's look at an example. Update a value of employee phone number. As I said, employee phone number, where employee ID is this, so he has changed the phone number. Then let's update that, writing this query within the Cobol program, exec SQL, update set employee phone number, where employee ID equal to this. That's it, right? Similarly, delete. Okay, now employee left the organization, or the customer has discontinued, he don't want his banking account to continue his, so just we need to delete that particular customer record, right? So we can delete that specific row. Just I'm taking a simple example, or maybe there will be several different conditions where we apply these delete conditions. Maybe the records which are older than 1 month, there are no transaction, or maybe something like that. So then we can apply a delete query. Okay, as I said, like employee left the organization, and we wanted to remove the employee record and not to be populated in any of the databases they have in internally HR system, payroll system, or anywhere. So we can delete using the delete query. Okay, so this is a specific employee, and it deletes the complete record from the employee database here. Okay, that's good. So what about select, right? Select is very much used. Okay, so in the DB2 application program, select query, I don't know how many times we will be writing this queries. There will be using select itself, you will be working on queries, subqueries, nested subqueries, correlated subqueries, joins. If you have heard of all these things, there's that all comes with the select query only. It is used to really retrieve the selected values from the tables, or all the values from the table, right? All the business intelligence, all the decision makings that happens with the select query. If you want to create a report, everything that is connected to the select query. So this you have to practice a lot, right? Okay, note, a simple select can retrieve only one record. For multiple records, you need to use a cursors, right? Okay, when in the application programs, when you use a simple query, if the result is a one record, that's fine. If the result is more than one records, that's not that's a bad, right? So we cannot write a simple select query, so we need to use the concept of a cursors. So using cursors you can work on it. So the statement will be like exec SQL select field 1, and you will be writing a where condition there. Example, select employee phone number from AMP where AMP number equal to this, right? Okay, so different functions we use, count, max, min, average. So now what's this? All right, so let's dive into Cobol plus DB2 programs. So now we'll dive into this and let's see how we I'll try to explain what can be done. I mean, what all I'm going to explain into the, I mean, this is something that, and if you're writing a Cobol DB2 program, these are the steps, that what are the sequence I'm explaining you, right? So you just follow those, so it will be very easy. Okay, so maybe there may be a couple of books or notes, maybe there may be videos, so but just follow this. I mean, the sense I have followed the same thing scenario, same things, and I'm trying to explain you all same things, so that will be helpful to you all. Okay, so first, when you're writing an application program, I mean your Cobol DB2 program, first DCLGEN comes into the picture. The reason, you need to it's a tool that generates a Cobol variables. We cannot directly use the earlier you have created a table with the employee number and some department name, so that fields you cannot use it, so that need to be converted to a Cobol variables. So that's where the DCLGEN comes into the picture. It's called as a declaration generator, that we with the help of a SPUFI we can generate that, which can be used to generate the host variable with equivalent data types of Cobol DB2 columns. DB2 table you have DCLGEN and then Cobol. Okay, so within that we have a concept called as a host variables. What is host variable? We need to understand. Host variable can be declared manually or by using DCLGEN. Okay, so yes, we can also create manually. If you have one or two fields, okay, you can just type it and you can code it. What if you have 50 fields, 30 fields, 20 fields? It's not an easy task, so we need some specific tool that can create. DCLGEN gives you that. Okay, so within the SPUFI you have DCLGEN, so that creates, just give the table name, just give whatever the naming wanted to add, just give that. Within a seconds it gives the complete Cobol structure, I mean layout of the table, and directly use it. Okay, that's the beauty of the DCLGEN. Okay, DCLGEN tool table name will be used as an input and PDS number will be used as an output. So DCLGEN copybook member must be copied under the working storage. Basically what we are trying to do here is we are trying to generate a copybook of the related table. Okay, so if you want to use that copybook, how do you use, what is the statement that we need to write inside? So exec SQL include, and the member name, the member name is nothing but the copybook that is generated. Okay, that's done. Then host variable, again if you have to, if you want to explain more details, like it can be used to pass the data from Cobol program to DB2 table, right, or a DB2 table to the Cobol program. If you want to pass, it's now the to and fro communication is happening from Cobol program. You are trying to send the data to the DB2 table, or if you want to pull the data from the DB2 table to the Cobol program, we need these host variables. Without these host variables you cannot, both Cobol and DB2 cannot communicate, right? So we need this, right? Okay, when host variables are coded with SQL statements, it must be prefixed with colon. Okay, so this is all, that's this is the colon host variable customer name, right? Table name must be specified as an input to DCLGEN, and partition dataset should be as an output data. Okay, that's cool. After creating DCLGEN variable, which must be copied to the application program working storage. That's what we discussed, right? Okay, so host variables is a temporary variable which is declared in working storage. Below shows the Cobol versus DB2 declarations. If in Cobol, I mean if in DB2 if we have int, then equivalent Cobol will be like this: s9 of comp, small int will be s9 of 4 comp, and decimal will have s9, and v9 char will have this, varchar will have this, and the date will have this. This is very important. As I said earlier, if you have one or two fields, just you can manually write this, convert this. But if they have 50 or 60 fields or 20 fields, you will be using a DCLGEN tool that can create. Okay, so these are the equivalent variables. This is in the DB2 and this is in the Cobol, right? All right. So create a table using a QMF or SPUFI. So create a table. Okay, I'm going to use a I can say SPUFI. So then, okay, that's fantastic. So we have the table created with the SPUFI as I have shown in the earlier few minutes of the video. So that's where we go to SPUFI environment and we create the table there. Consider that the table is being created. So and we need to generate the equivalent host variables for this, right? So when we convert, when we use the DCLGEN, this will be the equivalent host variable for that. Okay, let me show you on the mainframe itself now, so that there will be, if there is any confusion, it will go off. All right, so we'll connect to the SPUFI. I'm connected to the mainframe first, then inside that I've selected the option to DB2I, and then within that you have an option. Okay, let me go back again. So I'm selecting the DB2 primary menu, that is 15, and then you have to select 2. And here you have to give the table name, right? So for example, you have maybe you in your organization, where if you're working in any of the orgs, right? So in your company, so maybe they have given the specific table, so where you wanted to use that. So first step is the layout of that. So employees table, which is already existing, so then I'm going to create the Cobol copybook of it. So you need to have the PDS created and some member name, you can give it here. And action, replace column label name, so yes, and so this is how we specify all these parameters and then enter. So now I have got the written code 0, so that it should give me the stable structure of it. So let me go back and see how the layout will be. Okay, so now you can see this has created. So this is the table. Okay, and it also created the equivalent exec statement as well. So exec SQL declare employee table, and this is the copybook, right? So this is how we create this, and the same thing, this will be included in the working storage as a copybook and within the Cobol program, right? Okay, now let's look at the program. So the program, as usual, it starts with identification, program, environment, data, working storage, exec SQL. So then include that particular copybook you can mention, and we have, in order to check any of the conditions, written codes, SQL written codes, we use an SQLCA, so which is inbuilt DB2 SQLCA. And then to handle, it's used for the error handling and procedure division. You're trying to retrieve the employee ID, employee name, salary into the host variable, that is AMP, then where employee ID equal to this. And so what we are trying to do is, we are trying to normally if you practice this query on the SPUFI or QMF, you'll be just giving the field names, right? Select employee ID from table name, where employee ID equal to this. So here what you do, instead of from, you will be selecting into this table name, right? So which is already we generated that by using DCLGEN, right? So this is how you write a very simple program. So when you compile, execute, so the result will be stored there. If you want to display, you can use a display statement, or if you want to write the data into any of the files, you can write the specific write logic and stop run. So this is a very simple basic program, and the next will be it's all about, it depends on the business logic, that how you are writing, and everything will be okay. So the point to be noted, all host variables which are coded with SQL statement must be prefixed with colon, and number of colons, number of host variables must be same with the data type length. Okay, awesome. So now let's try to use DDL commands, working with insert commands. So insert, as I have shown earlier, but it will be a recap. So but earlier maybe I might have not shown this. So host variable employee ID, employee name, salary. So these are the values that we have generated using host variables, and that we have already included in the working storage. If you just go back here, so you can see this, within this you will be having those variables, right? Okay, so just have a quick look at here. I'll hold on so that you will have enough time to look at in detail about this. Insert into EMP. So insert into, this is the much needed, you need to know about this, right? Okay, insert into EMP values, the host variables. So these values are being taken from this and inserted into this particular table. So here what we are trying to do, we are interacting with the table. That means from our local, I mean when I say local, the Cobol data, I mean the Cobol program processed from the Cobol program, you are trying to connect it to a DB2 and you are passing this, right? So this host variable will be an intermediate, and maybe in between you may have working storage variables, or maybe reading the data from a different file and trying to insert this record into the DB2 table. And similarly SQL select statements, employee ID, name, host variables from EMP where this particular employee ID is there. Awesome, right? And similarly you can use this for update and as well as for delete. Cool. So then SQL code, predefined numeric number which can be used to check SQL statement for either successful or unsuccessful execution. This is much needed, right? I don't know whether my query is executed successfully or not. I need to trace that. So that's where the SQL code or SQLCA will comes into the picture. SQL code can be stored in SQLCA. So we call this as a SQL communication area. Copy SQLCA. So this is already defined as shown earlier. So that will be copied as a include SQLCA. When SQL code is 00, that means successful. 100 means end of the table. Okay. As I said, SQL code 00 indicates successful and 100 indicates row not found, or it can be end of the table, right? Okay, every SQL statement must be evaluated using if and evaluated. Obviously we use this if and evaluate to check this. To use SQLCA, system defined must be copied under working storage section, and I have already explained that. So let's see the syntax clearly. Working storage section, copy SQLCA, and you can see this exec SQL, copy SQLCA 01 SQLCA, SQL code and SQL state. Okay, now I'm trying to retrieve a record where employee number is greater than 100, employee name from employee where employee number is greater than 100, and exec if SQL code equal to 0, display success, else if SQL code equal to 100, then display row not found or end of the table. Okay, display error. So this is how we handle the we handle this, and we check for whether the particular exec statement, that is SQL statement within the application program, written and correct. If not, so this is how it fails. So that's very important. So insert query, so insert into this and display. So this is how we write, and the same for the update. So this gonna work. Okay, let's look at the sample program. So customer table, so then exec SQL, include SQLCA, so then include, so this is something we have generated using a DCLGEN. Then you're writing all the SQL code possible values, 00, 100, 532, multiple row values, foreign key violation. So these are the common errors that we found whenever you're trying to head the table, pull the information, update the information into the table, and all the things that you perform. 00 success not found, or end of the record, end of the table. So 100 minus 532 foreign key violation, which we see very normally. So multiple rows values, minus 811. So there we use a cursor concept. So update customer, so this is about the update, set name, host variable name, where, move, evaluate. When 88 success, display successfully updated, not found, display record not found, foreign key violation, display when other. So this is how we write this. Okay, so these are the possible condition that may occur when I'm using an update, right? So this is how you determine, and you'll be writing Maybe if you are a 2 years experienced person, or maybe if you are really new into this Cobol DB2 and you got a project, you will be seeing several error handling. I mean, several written codes they have written in an evaluate statement, and they check for all the possible things, right? Okay, cursors. So since I'm saying like there are, if how do we fetch? We select statement can retrieve one or more than one record, right? So in order to handle that, we use a cursor concept. Select query can retrieve one or two more records. If the query result one record, it is good to capture the result and manipulate it. But the same select query used in same program retrieves more than one rows at a time. It appends. What that append code? SQL code -81. Okay, to handle this issue, we go for a cursor. It is used to retrieve multiple rows. Life cycle of a cursor is similar to file declaration, open, fetch, close, all those things, right? So first we open a cursor, then we fetch the cursor, close a cursor, open, fetch, and close. Declaring the cursor can be coded in working storage section or a procedure edition. For a better readability, code in working storage section. Then open. Open can be used to open a cursor with rows of a given conditions in buffer. Retrieve the data into a buffer must be coded in the procedure division only, and where condition value must be supplied before opening a cursor. Then fetch. Fetch can be used to retrieve rows one by one from buffer into the application program, which must be coded in procedure division after open, and must be coded with host variables, and number of host variables in fetch and number of columns in the declare must be same and can be executed multiple times using perform till end of the table is reached or the end of the record. Close. Use it to close a cursor, must be coded in procedure division only, must be executed after open statements. So if you are good with this, you're ready to start programming cursors. Okay, let us look into the detail of each step. Step 1, as I've mentioned. Okay, first we'll declare a cursor. So exec SQL declare cursor name and cursor for select statement. So you have to write the specific select statement from the table name, obviously you have to mention, and the where conditions. If you have that where conditions, you'll be writing. So that's it. So this is the declaration of a cursor. Let's look at the example as well. You have a department. I'm trying to create a cursor for the department table. So you are going to give a declare department cursor name with the cursor for what fields you are selecting. Select department ID and department name from department table. Obviously you'll be giving a database name, then followed by a table space name, where department ID equal to then host variables. Host variables means you already have generated the copybook of this particular table using a DCLGEN and declared in a working storage section, and you are using this, right? That's it. So this is how the first step ends here on the cursor side, and the next one will be the open. It is also an executable statement which will identify address of a cursor, retrieve rows based on conditions specified in a cursor declaration. When open cursor statement is executed, the query associated with that cursor is executed and result table is created. Let's look at that. So the cursor, when the cursor points from 1 to 1, so the cursor points at the first position there when we open it, and then later on it retrieves one by one. All host variable before command open command must be populated with data. Let's look at an example. Open cursor name. First initially we have declared, now we are trying to open the cursor where in the procedure division. So now that's it. So fetch, it is another executable command. Why fetch is used? To retrieve the data, I mean to read the data. Initially when we have declared an open, so it was pointing the cursor at the first record, that's it, but we didn't fetch that. So now we need to fetch it. That means to read it. So how do you retrieve? So obviously you try to use any of the perform, whichever you are convenient. It's so either a simple perform or a looping perform or whatever it is. Okay, you can use that. Fetch has to be coded with host variables, and number of columns specified in the cursor declaration. When fetch cursor statement is executed, it reuse the rows to fetch the cursor. Okay, let's look at the syntax. Exec SQL fetch into host variables, then exec SQL fetch department into department ID name, then finally close it. Okay, so this is the sample program for the cursor. Okay, so that's about the cursors. When close cursor statement is executed, it destroys cursor as well as the resultant table. We can declare any number of cursors against one table. Also, it can be declared using multiple table. Okay, what's this? Let's dive into the cursor program. Okay, to retrieve multiple rows of a given program, let us take a simple example. Okay, we have already explained that, but it's a complete program I'm trying to explain here. Select cursor name. Okay, into this. If the condition satisfies one row, it executes successfully. If the condition satisfies multiple rows, it won't work. What is the error code that it will display? -811. See, this is also one of the interview question that can be asked in a cursor. What is a cursor? What is the life cycle of a cursor? Why we need to use a cursor? What happens if you are trying to retrieve more than one record? What is the error that you get? SQL error that you get? -811, boss. Right? Okay. For this, we use cursors. Exactly. Practical example. Let's see this. We have declared a cursor. C1. Okay, open the cursor, then perform until SQL code equal to 100, fetch. You try to fetch the records, then and perform, then finally close the cursor. That's it, right? Okay, and within the cursor we can use for update of where current of, which can be used to update row by row when multiple rows are satisfied, right? So using cursors, I mean, where you have several records that need to be updated. If you want to update only a specific one record, no need of using cursors. If you have a situation where you wanted to update multiple records, then you have to use this, okay, for update of. Okay, before update cursor has to be declared from the update of a column option when current of a cursor name must be used to update the content. And you have withhold option. This option can be used to remain cursors open even after a commit statement and must be coded with the cursor statement. Okay, let's look at an example. If you look at here, declare cursor name cursor withhold for. You have to mention option of withhold for when you are declaring a cursor. Select customer name and where for update of this particular table name, right? And the important point to be noted, withhold for and for update of. You are using this cursor to update multiple records. So these two things to be measured. I mean, have a look at this. And this is also another interview question that can be asked. Okay, open the cursor. Now you have to try to fetch the details, and then finally you can apply a update operation. So you wanted to set, I mean, maybe there I mean just I wanted to increase the salaries of an employees by 5% for the specific department. So then apply for everyone. Okay, so that way you can use it. So here what we are trying to use is, you are trying to set a customer name ABC where current of this whatever is eligible, so it will update that. Okay, so then close. So shall we learn more or shall we stop here? Okay, I'll just take few more minutes so that I feel comfortable, like okay, I have tried to explain the complete DB2. Okay, so that since I have told a quick refresher, I mean, to complete the to explain each and every module in detail, it will take several hours. I'm trying to compact this video as much as with minimum time, so that it will be a quick refresh for everyone who have already been working, or maybe they have left maybe they left coding for a couple of years and trying to come back, or maybe you were completely working in a batch where you didn't touch the DB2, now you're touching back. So it will be a quick refresher for everyone. Okay, and also for the beginner, this will be very useful for them. I'm trying to cover all the concepts here. Let's learn more. Okay, let's learn more. Okay, yes, the answer is yes. Okay, so normalization. So normally this is the foundation when you are learning the basics of SQL, right? So it comes as a theory, I can say. So we'll maybe in your college days in your graduations you might have studied about this. So I'll just try to recap this. Arranging the data in the database is an organized manager, so that is called as a normalization. We have Boyce code normal form. There will be different normal form, right? I don't want to go into that. So normalization form, first normal form, second normal form, third normal form. And what is first normal form? Avoiding multiple values or set of values in one column. So that is first. Then what is second normal form? It is to avoid duplicate rows based on column. It can be eliminated by defining a primary key, right? So in second normal form, the primary key concept came, and primary key is uniquely identified row, does not contain a null values or duplicate values. Okay, this is another point. And why third normal form? It is to build a relationship between the two objects. So earlier in second normal form, okay, primary key, that's fine. So now I wanted to make a relationship between two different tables or multiple tables. So that's where the foreign key comes into the picture. A foreign key will establish a relationship between or an entity, I can say referential integrity, cardinality constraints, all these things comes there. So the foreign key has came there. So that's where multiple foreign key also be defined. Okay, so foreign key can contain null and single multiple. So let's look at that. Now we'll also see the difference between what is primary key, foreign key. Primary key and foreign key must be created at the time of creating a table. Obviously, if you cannot create later part, you have to create while creating the table itself. All primary column must be created with a not null. All non-primary columns must be created with not null with a default. Not null with default will assign a default values as numeric zeros. Foreign key should be created with the at the time of creating a child table, right? Obviously, create table. Let's look at an example. Okay, I'm trying to create a employee table. Employee number integer not null. This was the first point I mentioned, right? Primary key should be always not null. Okay, employee char name not null with the default. Okay, now you can see I'm specifying a primary key for this employee number. Employee key is employee number, and the foreign key is department number, references department. Okay, and here create a department table, department number not null, department name, primary key is department number, and that's how you form a primary key and a foreign key. Let's look at the table here. If you look at the table, you have employee department table. In employee table, employee number, name, department number, and department number, department name. This holds the primary key and this holds the primary key. So in each tables we have two primary keys. What is this? Department number, we call it as a primary key. Why? Reason, this department number is already there in the department table, and which is a primary key. If the primary key field is used as a field in another table, that becomes a foreign key. That's very simple, right? So he's a foreigner person, right? So he's a foreigner now. He was into his local country. Now he's coming to another, he's going to another country, he becomes a foreign, right? Foreigner, right? Okay, just kidding. Okay, so that is called as a foreign key, and this forms an entity relationship. Okay, what happens when we form this entity relationship? When you're trying to I mean, for example, I wanted to enter a new record here. Okay, let's say the department number is 10000. Okay, what happens? This will not allow. The reason that 1000 is not there in this table. So that's where the referential integrity comes into the picture. Okay, so that's the beauty of it. So let's look into more details. Referential integrity stands for the referential integrity relationship between two tables, which can be achieved by defining foreign key is a RI. And this is also interview commonly asked question. Don't miss this. Explain. Okay, uniquely identified row, which can be formed with a single or multiple columns, does not allow any duplicate records and cannot contain null. Foreign key, another identifier which can be used to build a relationship between the table, must be a primary key of parent table, whatever I mentioned. So that's there. Okay, so create table, item into integer, I number, item name, customer number, primary key, foreign key with references customer. So this is much needed when you are using a foreign key. So you need to use with references. Okay, Okay, so this again shows the difference between primary key and foreign key. And index allows the duplicate values. Unique index does not allow duplicate rows. This is about the index. Primary key index and unique index. So this is the differences between all the three. Okay, now let's look at the subqueries. So query within a query is nothing but a subquery. What happens in a query? First inner query will be executed and outer query will be executed based on the inner query result. Mostly we'll have maximum 15 subqueries can be coded. Okay, and you can write the same query in the Cobol statements, Cobol code. For example, if I want to retrieve the second maximum salary from the employee table, first I'll write select maximum salary from EMP, where salary is less than, select the maximum salary of EMP. So what happens here? First this will be executed first, then next later on this will be executed. Okay, and similarly you have to write this query. So what happens? This query within a query and query in a query, this is called as a nested query. Okay, and useful or important queries. So okay, so select max. What happens here when I'm trying to execute this? When I try to execute this, if I simply execute this query, what happens? It retrieves 9000, but my requirement is to retrieve the second max, so I need to write another query, EMP salary, so that it will retrieve 8000. Okay, in the above highlighted, so that's good. Nested subquery, query within a query, query within a query. So this is called as a nested subquery. Awesome. Okay, let's look into another one, very important, correlated subquery. It is quite opposite to subquery and the nested queries. Okay, in this first outer query will be executed, and based on the outer query result, an inner query will be executed. Every row of a outer query comma inner query must execute at least one. So earlier, in order to identify the maximum salary, first highest salary who got, then second highest, then third highest. My requirement keeps on changing. I wanted to know, like, within a 1000 employees, 1k employees, I wanted to know who has the 50th highest record. I'm not asking about 1, 2, 3, or let's say the 15th highest record. If you are using a subquery, how many subqueries you need to write? 15 subqueries you need to write. What is the maximum that a condition has? 15. More than that you cannot write. So that's where the correlated subqueries will come into the picture. So that minimizes the query that you are writing. So we use a correlated subquery concept. For every row of outer query, inner query must execute at least once. First outer query executes, then inner query. Okay, so for example, you want to stop two salaries or third salaries or n number of salaries you want. I wanted to see the top 50 or top 10, top 5. So in that case you can use this subqueries. Not only this, I'm taking a basic example of this. There may be different situations or scenarios when work life. So there, if you see this kind of a query, that's correlated subquery. Okay, don't get afraid looking at the query. So it will be just break down piece by piece and try to debug. You will get the results, and it is very easy. Okay, so when you have a great foundation on these concepts, right, however the query may be 6 lines, 10 lines, you can debug it very fast. The basic thing is the strong foundation you need to have, right? That's where that's what I'm trying to explain, all these concepts, so that however the larger may be the query, so you can easily debug that. Okay, so this is the correlated subquery example. And retrieve top and salaries. So that's how. Okay, let me explain you in detail, so that my requirement is to retrieve top n salaries. Select a.emp salary from empa. This is the first line I have written. What is this? What is a? A is an alias, right? So I mean, this is a basic concept, and maybe you already know about this. So select from emp. Normally it will retrieve the emp table, and the next is emp a. So what happens here? So this is a.emp salaries from emp a, means alias is created, and then where 2 is greater than, select count star from emp b. And As I said, correlated subquery, first outer query will be executed. So based on that, an inner query will be executed here, right? What is happening here? I wanted to retrieve top two salaries. Okay, so that's cool. So let's say we have AMP. Then what is this? When you say aliases, right, a clone of this will be created internally in the buffer space. So ideally you'll be having only one table, but you are creating two different aliases, so that will have at the backend it will have a clone table created. Employee salaries will have this. Okay, so from this we try to debug. Okay, first check means when you look at this, first it will check this select count star from EMP where a.emp salaries is greater than this. First actually it will check for the outer queries, then it will go to the inner query, right? So first check, so we'll have here we had these many records, it checks for this. So here we do is 1000 less than 1000 or less than 2000, then it will take the count of it. Whenever that condition satisfies, that takes the count, goes to the inner query, and then it keeps on checking. So it's the second check, again it condition pass to this and then retrieves. Then the third check, similarly it goes and check for the same thing, and finally it says that okay, I'm satisfying these conditions, and then that will be displayed. So that's how a correlated subquery will be completed. Okay, then view is nothing but it's similar to the table, but based on few scenarios we will be creating a view. And to create the view, create view name, and what are the fields you wanted to create from the specific table, and you will be selecting that specific tables from the customer, where customer lake like this. Okay, let me explain you a scenario where, I mean, if you're working in an organization, so you'll be having a different departments, and let's say an employee database is there. Okay, employee name, salary, age, phone number, everything is there. If an let's say accounts department, HR department, finance department, or any other department, let's say technology department, so if you are not restricting, if everyone is accessing that particular table, so they can see their salaries, they can see, oh okay, X employee how much salary he got, this employee how much salary he got, they can see every information. But I wanted to hide those information. So in that scenario, what we can do is we can create a separate view for different departments. Okay, so that, and we can retrieve those specific fields and give them a separate view, and they can fetch those information. So that's the main purpose of the view. Okay, so logical representation of the table stored in virtual memory can be derived from a single table or multiple tables. See, this is another advantage, right? A view can be derived from a single table or a multiple tables, right? Views are updatable if they are derived from a single table without any column functions. A group by can be used. Okay, multiple views can be generated from a single table when views are stored in a sysviews. Advantage: data security, data correctness, logical data independence. Part of the information can be visible to the sys, and accessing can be faster. That's very important. Delete rules can be applied for delete command against database. There are like on delete cascade, on delete restrict, on delete set null. This is another interview question that will be asked. What is union? So you wanted to union is nothing but group, right? They wanted to form an union. It is nothing but it's playing with the multiple tables. You wanted to combine multiple table and try to fetch the information. Number of columns, there is one specific rule. Okay, when you are using a union, be careful. Number of columns and data type of both the queries must be same. Column may be a different. Union can be used to eliminate duplicate rows. Union all retrieves duplicate row also. Select customer name from customer number, where this union or union all, and this can be used. It joins is also another important concept, and it can be used to concatenate the columns from one table or multiple tables. You will be seeing this join concept a lot. Okay, so based on this we have left join, right join, inner join, or full outer joins. Okay, so if you look at this, right, so what is the left join? Left join means which can be used to retrieve the matching records from both the tables and non-matching records from the left side. So it will retrieve the matching records and the non-matched records from the right table. And here also the left outer join right table, and left outer join left table, and right outer join right table. That's where, right, which can be used to retrieve matching and non-matching rows from the right side of the table, and here left side of the table we call it as a left. Full outer join, which can be used to retrieve matching and non-matching from the both the table, matching, non-matching, or and from the both table. Inner join, so the only the matching records if you are retrieving, so that is called as a inner join. Okay. Okay, let me show you a quick examples of it. Here it's just for the simple join. So I'm trying to select an employee name, department name from EMP, comma department 1, where employee number equal to some manager number. So what it will do is when I try to run this query, okay, so I think the query is executed. So now you can see it has retrieved the common records only, but the rest it has it didn't display this, right? So it is nothing, only the matched records. If the specific account is matched in the, okay, let me go here. Okay, let's see. Okay, so here select employee name, employee number from EMP, so that is left outer join, so that you can ignore. So this is okay, let me see which query I've executed. Yeah, so this is okay, that's not okay. Select employee name, department number from EMP department, where employee number equal to manager number. So in that case only the matched records will be displayed. So that is, I can say, like inner join. Okay, that is an inner join, right? So that is what we call as a simple join. And then we have an inner join, right outer join, left outer join. So let's look at the left outer join as well. So what will happen? So you have an employee table, and then we have a department table. What we are trying to do here, what it will do is it fetches all the records from the left table and match records from the right table. So this is how it is performing. So whatever the matched records from the left table, it has brought, but from the right table only the matched records from the left table and non-matched from the right table. So that will be given here. So that's how we execute and we play around with the join. Hope you got a clear understanding about this. May not be, okay, since I haven't explained much there. Okay, so but this is how you have to write the queries. If you Google joins queries, you will get n number of queries. Okay, but we need to know what are the different joins that we'll be using it. I hope this was a very I can say you got a quick quick overview or a quick refresher on the complete DB2 concepts. I know what you are thinking of it. Where is the DB2 pre-compilation? That's very important, right? That's commonly used, asked in the interview. Don't worry about that. Long time back I have created a video on that, so maybe you can watch it. If that is not helping you, I will make another video on the DB2 pre-compilation part in the next video. Maybe, I'm not sure, I cannot give you a the date, but based on but very soon I'll be uploading another video on the DB2 pre-compilation part as well, and also will try to cover some more topics. If you can give me some other comments, like if you are interested on any other topic that I have missed in this DB2, just have a comment in the below comment section, so that let me try to make one which I might have missed it, right? But maximum I made sure like I have covered almost all the concepts that are very helpful and that is being used, and this is a very quick refresher, I can say. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope it might have taken almost an hour or more than an hour. I couldn't see that. I was keeping on telling it. Okay, but anyways, so that's a quick refresher and very important. So if you haven't subscribed to my channel, please do subscribe and share whoever is working on the mainframes and whoever is interested to learn. Okay, there are more things, there are more changes coming up, and the IBM is bringing up a lot of changes. Don't worry about the mainframe. So okay, there are a lot of things are coming up. There is a lot of future on this. Okay, thank you so much guys, thank you so much.